we market ourselves as retro. You know, bring back the good old days. We have a song that has that in it. Bring back the good old days of Hosmer Mountain, the good old ways to satisfy your thirst. Follow me back to the good old days at Hosmer Mountain. We're here to stay.
That was amazing, Bill. Thank you. Okay. This is
Chuck Potvin.
And your role in Hosmer is?
I'm more on the mechanical end, the technical stuff, dispenser systems, vehicles. Plus I'm the neatest one, so I do a lot of organizing and cleaning.
That's nice, okay.
Yeah.
This is Andy Potvin from Hosmer Mountain Beverages.
Hosmer Mountain Beverages. I'm actually the president, only because I've put the most time in.
There you go. Hello, Bill.
Hi.
Today we're going to do an interview about the Potvins' past, present, and future.
Okay.
So let's start with your personal background and early years. Can you tell us your earliest memories being involved in the soda business?
That would have been in the late 50s, so I was born in 46. I was around 10 when my dad bought the business from the widow of the man that ran it that had a heart attack. So 10 or 11 years old, we were unloading the trucks and sorting the bottles out, and we were actually manufacturing soda right here at 217 Mountain Street. In those days, that's where the manufacturing was.
Yeah, I think we have some pictures of trucks here loaded at the dock in front.
Well, I mean, I grew up in the house where they made it. We used to go down and play, and he would bring friends over to the store, and he'd allow everybody to have a soda. So we had a lot of friends that came over because of that reason.
Yeah.
My father worked 7 days a week, 25 years without a vacation. Bill and John, they worked when they were kids, Mm-hmm. My dad needed the help, and they probably worked for nothing. I don't know if they even got paid.
He said peanuts.
Peanuts,
Yep.
Yeah, I'm sure it was peanuts. I didn't do that, I was a younger one, and I was involved in sports, and I wasn't made to do anything on weekends or any of that. I didn't even get involved in the summer in the soda business. As I got into high school, I kind of made up my mind that I didn't want to get involved in the business because I saw how hard my father worked and no time off.
All of us had one escape from this company, and that was sports. So if you didn't play sports, you usually got stuck working. And so we all had a great work ethic, and still do. And we were all pretty good in sports, by the way. And so that was also, and then my father would be proud of us for that. I think the earliest memories I have of the soda company was cutting up one of the big machines downstairs in the bottling plant. And I was totally fascinated with the fact that with a torch you could melt steel and cut it up. So my dad, he had bought a torch, a acetylene torch and everything, and I was absolutely freaked out that you could literally make metal melt and cut it out. It was beyond, and I got many burns from it, and my father got that job done having me being fascinated with it. So it flowed right into my mechanical tendencies, which I have a lot of.
How did your father come to acquire the company? Do you know any?
Not too much. I was 5 years old, and my knowledge was extremely limited. Again, with me in particular, and my younger brother. I mean, we grew up into it, but it wasn't like it was unique to us. It was all we knew.
Well, my dad's background was kind of interesting because he actually drove a Pepsi truck, and I can remember being a little tyke of 5 years old, getting in his truck and going to Central Village, Connecticut, where the Pepsi plant was. After he left Pepsi, he did bounced around and did a few things, but he already had carbonation in his blood, unfortunately.
Did you work in various roles within the company as you were growing up? And if so, which roles did you enjoy the most?
Well, obviously, at the time you were just going to do the basic stuff. I mean, we had returnable bottles, so the dirty bottles would come in and they would come down to the washer. So early job for me and John. My brother John was a year younger than me, and we were the young workers at the time. So putting bottles in the washing machine and then stacking the fulls as they came out. My dad was taking care of the actually handling of the soda and getting it into the case, but it had to be put away. And of course, we weren't old enough to drive a truck or anything, so he did all that kind of stuff. So that's basically how we started. I wound up in high school floundering around a little bit until I hit the chemistry in the junior year, and all of a sudden it clicked. I liked chemistry. I had already been in the soda business a while, and then I proceeded to continue to enjoy science more than any other field. So as I went through UConn, I always gravitated towards science courses, and to this day, I still have at least the rudimentary high school chemistry knowledge, which is useful.
Yeah, I mean,
that's better than having none.
Yeah.
And for me personally, I did not enjoy school. I was not good at school. I think I'm dyslexic in many aspects of life.
I've had a lot of science courses, but I'm actually a graduate of the College of Agriculture.
Yes.
So, I was an agronomy major, the relationship of soil and plants. And so I did wind up in that field too, in the pesticide industry for a big company. But I bounced off that after 5 or 6 years and came back to Hosmer.
And I actually wanted to be a surveyor, so I took civil engineering in college. But it turned out when I graduated that you needed 15 years of experience, before you could get your surveyor's license. I was good in math and kind of fit pretty well into my forte. And I got out of college in 1976, and my father made me an offer I couldn't refuse,
Okay.
He needed the help, and they paid me really well the first few years. And then I didn't get any raises for a long time because, my brothers had to catch up.
Yeah.
So I got kind of, not conned into it, but convinced that I could make more money doing that at the time than anything else.
Did you get paid when you first started working?
Yeah, peanuts. Very little. Very little.
Well, that's still good that you
That was the way I look at our family. It's a little bit like a farm family, which means when you have children, the children are looked at as cheap labor.
Yeah.
You don't have to hire professional, grown-up people to get tasks done.
Yeah, but then I guess it shows the kids what work ethic you need.
Yeah, it's not necessarily just negative.
Yeah.
If you grow up like that, you've already have one of the ways of being successful, that you know how to complete tasks and deal with certain kind of uncomfortable things.
We got equal pay. Is
Yes.
that where you're coming from? Okay, well, so from equal pay, what that accomplishes, or within a family environment, is the fact that you don't have jealousy. Money can destroy families. I don't think our family was ever that into money that, you'd backstab your brother for extra money. I don't think any of us thought that way.
Yes.
Extremely conservative. And as I'm supposed to be the leader of this company now, I am still extremely conservative. High risk is not where we come from. We just don't think that way.
What was it like growing up in a family that owned and operated a soda company, just generally?
Besides hectic, well, right where we are right now, downstairs is the manufacturing, was the bottling plant, and it's a retail store down there. We lived up above it, and we were working too, and we were trying to play our Little League and our various kinds of sports things that we got into, because the family is kind of athletic.
Yeah.
And so it was quite the blend. Plus, my mother was a business person too. She took over for my father's mother, they ran Potvins Beauty Parlor right there on Main Street in Willimantic.
Okay.
And so when my grandmother passed away, she actually died at work in the beautician's place. So my dad suggested Mom go to beautician school and take over the business. And she did. So then we had a early soda company and a hairdressing with 6 kids. So the word is hectic.
Yeah.
Well, it was fun when you were a kid, you know, and you get all the soda you want. And my father was selling chips and ice cream and all kinds of sweet stuff that we were always. It was a funny story, you know. He was selling ice cream at one point, and we were eating so much of it, ice cream bars, you know. He decided he wasn't going to sell anymore, so he got rid of his little cooler. But it was interesting. I was young, and watching machinery was interesting to me. You know, I mean, it was antique stuff back then, but it was still interesting to watch. And my father was a busy man, and he made all the soda himself, and he had a couple of distributors. I remember those guys coming in, and you know, we were at Mountain Street at the time, where the store is now. That's my father made soda in the basement, and the syrup room was upstairs where my mother's living room is now.
Wow.
Yeah, and those big vats, and so I remember all that very distinctly. We had a gentleman there was a place in town called Grant Company or something like that, and they sold bagged sugar, you know, cane sugar. And my father made everything with cane sugar back then, and this guy used to back this truck up, his old truck in the backyard, and take 100-pound bags of sugar on his back and bring them into my mother's living room, what is now my mother's living room. And my dad would go in there at night and mix simple syrup, you know, sugar and water. He'd have to heat the water and dissolve the sugar. You know, he'd use that simple syrup to make the flavors, you know. He'd have a backup of sugar, you know, dissolved sugar. But that gentleman, when that place closed, that Grant Company closed, he came to work for us. And he worked for us for 18 years until he retired. And then, unfortunately, he didn't get much of a retirement because he passed away a few years after that, which was really sad because he was a great guy. But I remember that, and I remember everybody that worked for us. I remember very well. You know, even as a kid, you know, the 2 drivers that would come in, 3 drivers actually. They owned their own business. They went out and started their own routes, and you know, they'd come in the morning, and my father would load their trucks up right on Mountain Street. We have pictures of it. It's amazing that they were able to do that. You know, in the winter with snow, and it was just awful. But we have some pictures of it, and I said, oh my God, how difficult. You know, and everything was much heavier back then, wooden cases. And so I guess I would say it was enjoyable. I was lucky to be in a family that made soda, you know.
Learning the ropes. How did your mother and father teach you about the business? And were there any particular lessons that stood out?
Well, I don't know if they taught us much about the business. My dad was a good business person. He's pretty bright guy, and he had some mechanical skills, which is very important, but he also had mathematical skills. So he understood what making a profit was and what pleasing the customer was and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not sure he passed that on to us specifically, but it was kind of soaked in, just a form of observation. That's all it was. It was a little bit of observation, but we didn't get any direct directions on what to do.
Up into it and you found your
No,
way?
my dad was very rigid.
Okay.
So in his rigidity, my father's whole thing was, this is how I do it, this is how you're going to do it. And in many cases with my dad, I did it better than him. And it used to upset me to no end that he would say just what I just said. He would say, this is how I do it, you do it that way. And I said, I got a better way to do it. Why would I do it your way? Yeah. And I proved to him many, many times that my way was better. And then he started, or at least in my opinion, he started to have respect for what my abilities were, and he would let me do it the way that I wanted to.
So you said you weren't too involved in the company when you were younger, but do you remember any big industry changes with your family business?
Oh, well, the biggest change was when we moved.
Okay.
Yeah, when we moved out here. This was back in the 60s. I have pictures of when they brought them, the equipment, the bottling equipment in. It came from New London Coca-Cola. They're basically their whole line, because they had replaced it. But it was on trucks in the front of the bottling plant there. I think it was 1964, 65. So when we came over here, that was a big move. I mean, we weren't making soda in the basement anymore after that,
Yeah.
We outgrew that place, and the spring was drying up, My father made everything with spring water, and there wasn't enough water to keep up with the band. So we were fortunate to get this piece of property, because this water here is very good too.
Can you share some significant milestones or turning points in your life that kind of reflect on Hosmer?
Turning points in my life? Yeah, I was kind of babied a little bit, I would say, I was treated better than my brothers for some reason. My dad, I think he got tired of disciplining his kids. I was the second to the youngest. My sister and I, we didn't get as much grief as my brothers did. I remember that clearly too. So I was kind of spoiled as far as some things go. But I told you, I made pretty good money for back then. Coming over here, I think, was significant. I mean, to me, it was really growing. It was the first time I'd seen Hosmer Mountain really grow.
It was kind of the biggest separation between home and the business.
I think that probably had a lot to do with it.
Okay.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. It's about 3 miles over to the house, and God, my dad had one forklift back then. He would drive the thing on these back roads, like once or twice a week. Drive that forklift, because he only had one, and he needed one at both places. And now you couldn't drive a forklift, because there are so many new houses up on this road. You'd get killed.
Yeah.
And people go too fast, but yeah, that was significant change in my life. I saw it and I felt it. It was a good thing. It was a really good thing.
Can you share some significant milestones or turning points in Hosmer's history?
Well, I think the most important one that I can think of is a company that was originated in 1912 and called Hosmer Mountain Bottling Works. Talk about an old way to call your company. There's no bottling works being made anymore. So when 2012 came along, that was a 100-year anniversary. So that I would say turning 100 years old was a tremendous milestone. It puts you in a very unique group.
Would you say that seltzer is an alternative that people are purchasing more, or is just a drop-off?
More, no, that's more. It's a replacement of the other.
Okay.
But it's a replacement that doesn't have the negative connotation that has now developed from the medical profession, that bombarding yourself with sugar and high fructose corn sweetener cause obesities, diabetes, and maybe other problems too. So it was oversold to the public. We still, I don't feel embarrassed about selling soft drinks, but I sort of in the back of my mind, I hope that people don't come in every week for 2 cases.
Yeah.
Okay, and barely fit through the door.
Yeah.
But today's drinking is for hydration. People drink seltzer and they're basically drinking water.
Yeah.
All right, that they want the hydration, and it'll quench your thirst better than soda too.
Hello. Hello, this is I'm the Hosmer customer. I did try the Manchester number and it didn't pick up, so I'm going to leave a message here. I would like 2 cases of the long neck seltzer and 1 case of the pale dry ginger ale big bottle. Bye-bye.
Okay, I'll take care of her later. She got 2 seltzer and a ginger ale, so she's still buying sugar.
Yeah.
Yeah, but people are more conscious about overdoing it.
Yeah.
This is the first video on the Hosmer YouTube channel. Potvins past, present, and future. If you are looking forward to part 2, like, subscribe, and comment. Who knows, maybe we'll find some Hosmer heads out there. Part 2 will be talking about the Potvins' future and their plans to sell Hosmer. Thanks for watching.